Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 14 and verse number 39. I will cover 3 verses today because the verses are short and the purport is short as well. So we'll cover 39, 40 and 41. Kachitte namayam tata Bhrashta teja vibhashi me Alabdhamano vajnatha Kimva tata chiroshita Kachitte namayam tata Bhrashta teja vibhashi me Alabdhamano vajnatha Kimva tata chiroshita Kachitte namayam tata Bhrashta teja vibhashi me Alabdhamano vajnatha Kimva tata chiroshita. Would anyone else like to recite the verse? 39. 1, 14, 39. Kachittenayam tata Bhrashta teja vibhashi me Alabdhamano vajnatha Himva tata chiroshita Kachitte namayam tata Bhrashta teja vibhashi me Alabdhamano vajnatha Kimva tata chiroshita. Okay, so translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My brother Arjuna, please tell me whether your health is all right. You appear to have lost your bodily luster. Is this due to others disrespecting and neglecting you because of your long stay at Dwarka? Purport. From all angles of vision, the Maharaj inquired from Arjuna about the welfare of Dwarka, but he concluded at last that as long as Sri Krishna himself was there, nothing inauspicious could happen. But at the same time, Arjuna appeared to be bereft of his bodily luster, and thus the king inquired of his personal welfare and asked so many vital questions. Om Ajnanatam Randhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः गुरु वैष्णव भगवान तीने रस्मरणे होय विघ्न विनाशन अनायासे होय निज वांछित पूर्ण नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी विचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So here we see that Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking Arjuna, because we all know that Krishna has disappeared already, and when Arjuna has come back, it looks like he has lost his bodily luster. So Kshatriyas generally they have a lot of tejas, or tej it is explained. And it appears that Arjuna has lost his teja, bhrashta teja vibhashime. So it sounds like he has lost his luster or lost his teja. And now Yudhishthira Maharaj is exploring many different reasons why that might be the case, or why would a Kshatriya lose his luster. So the first reason he considers is this due to others disrespecting and neglecting you because of your long stay at Dwarka? So obviously we know that Arjuna's palace would have been in Hastinapur, so he was meant to stay in Hastinapur, but he spent some time in Dwarka, and obviously Yudhishthira Maharaj does not know why he spent time in Dwarka. The reason was that he was trying to understand what was happening. But sometimes it is possible that a person may overstay in a particular place, and that can be quite inauspicious for a Kshatriya, because in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, when Narad Muni describes the roles of different varnas, over there he describes that Kshatriyas should actually not accept hospitality from anyone. In fact, it's said that even in the time of emergency, like if there is a very grave emergency, it is explained that Kshatriya should not take hospitality from anyone. Like the other people, like Brahmanas, Vaishyas and Shudras may take hospitality from someone, but Kshatriyas should not take hospitality. And the reason is that Kshatriyas are naturally endowed with the mode of passion. So for a person to become purified of that mode of passion, and to become ultimately free from that mode of passion, a person needs to make sure that he doesn't take hospitality from anyone. It's quite a complicated subject, because according to dharma, one engages one's own nature, then one is able to get free from one's own nature as well. And one of the reasons is that, like when you overstay at a particular place, like especially if a king or Kshatriya is staying at someone's place, then the amount of preparation that requires to look after them also is quite a lot. Like you can imagine, like if a beggar comes to your house, you may not have to do much. You may have to just give him some place to sit and some water and some food. Whereas if a king comes or a Kshatriya comes, you will have to look after them very nicely. You have to look after all of their comforts. Like one example is there, that when Bharat Maharaj, so not Bharat Maharaj of Srimad Bhagavatam, this is Bharat, younger brother of Lord Ram. So when he was looking for Lord Ram, he goes through different forests. And as he's going through the forest, he comes across the hermitage of sage Bharadwaj. And over there, Bharadwaj is explained that, like Bharadwaj is a simple sage. How is he going to look after, or how is he going to offer hospitality to a big king like Bharat? In fact, not just Bharat, actually Bharat came with his whole army and his whole kingdom, it is explained. Like Shatrughna was there, the mothers were there, all the soldiers were there, generals were there, like a lot of people were there. So how was he going to look after them? So through his mystic power, he essentially, it's described, he created a heaven on earth. He created so much opulence for them, so much food, so much drinking, like so many drinks, so many places of comfort, beds, etc. He created a lot of comfort for them, because to look after a Kshatriya, you need a lot of attention. And it is explained that Bharat Maharaj was extremely satisfied with how Bharadwaja treated him and the hospitality that Bharat gave. So to give, to give respect and comfort to a Kshatriya, you need to put in a lot of effort. And that is why if a Kshatriya overstays, then it puts a lot of burden on the guests. You can imagine, like, on the hosts. Then they may curse you also. It is possible. So that is why Yudhishthira Maharaj was wondering if a Kshatriya, like as a Kshatriya, did you overstay, and were you neglectful in that case? So he was wondering. Now, of course, if the host is a pure devotee, like Bharadwaj, for example, then for them it's not such a huge deal to offer hospitality to anyone. Like anyone can come to them and they can offer hospitality. Like Vishwamitra, for example, Vasishtha, when he was performing his austerities at that time, sage Vishwamitra in the form of a king, he came, and he also offered very nice hospitality to him. So for a devotee, it may not be that big of a deal. Actually, that reminds me, there is one story which comes in the Quran actually. It's quite interesting. So this story is about Hazrat Muhammad, peace be unto him. So this story goes like once upon a time, so now the Prophet Muhammad was the ruler of the entire Arabia subcontinent, you could say. And at that time, he was basically the Samrat or king in that region. And it is explained that once upon a time he was, camping in one place. And obviously when he was camping, there was a lot of opulence that was there with him. So there was a group of tribals who had heard about him. And this group of tribals, they thought that, Hazrat Muhammad, he has a lot of opulence. So he will be able to look after us very well. We don't have to search for food for so many days. So why don't we all go and seek shelter at his feet? And they just went to the camp of Hazrat Muhammad and they said, we are very hungry and we need hospitality. So then at that time, Hazrat Muhammad, he said there were 18 of those guys. So he allocated one person, one of his disciples to each one person. He said, all of you, you take one person home. And 17 of them were gone and there was one left. And this one person was the leader of the tribals. Now this guy was the one who came up with this idea that, let's go to Muhammad to extract all kinds of hospitality from him. So this guy, he went and he was a very big guy, very fat guy. And Muhammad said, let's offer a feast. So he offered a feast for all of the 18 people. And in that feast, there was so much food that, even one person, like the 18 people, they could not complete the amount of food that was there. So this leader of the tribals, he ate so much because he had never seen so much food before. So he just kept eating and eating and eating and eating. It's described he ate enough for 8 people at that time. So he kept eating and eating and eating and eating and he filled his belly like so much. So then after eating, all of them went to their respective homes. And Prophet Muhammad, he took this leader of the tribals to his house and then they went home. And while he took this person, all of the other people that were there, all of the other members in the palace, they were becoming very restless because they were seeing how ill-behaved or how badly behaved these tribals are. So they had some kind of grudge or some kind of animosity in their heart against them. So what happened is, like, when Prophet Muhammad took this leader to his house and he showed him his room, very nice room, at that time, the maid came and she locked the door from outside. She said, let this guy not come out, because if he comes out, he'll go and eat more again. So she locked the room from outside. So then when this guy was inside, obviously he had eaten the amount of 8 people. So he was becoming very restless. His belly became very upset. And because his belly became so upset, he actually ended up vomiting on the whole bed. Like, whole bed was complete mess. So in his mind, he was feeling very guilty and very bad. Like, oh no, I've made such a mess. What am I going to do? So then he kept banging at the door. And, so then the maids and Prophet Muhammad came and he opened the door. And this guy just darted. He just ran out because he was so ashamed that, he has done vomiting on the bed. So then he ran away and he didn't turn to look back. So then as he was running, he realized that, oh crap, I forgot my gold necklace back in the palace. So now it was a dilemma for him. Should I go back or should I just forget about my gold necklace? He thought, no, I'll go and get my gold necklace. So he decides to go back. And to his surprise, when he went back, what did he see? When he went back, he saw that Prophet Muhammad was himself, with his own hand, he was cleaning the whole bed. And when this guy came back, he in fact offered him hospitality. He said, oh, I think you want to come back. Please come back. Take some more food again. So he offered him such hospitality that the tribal leader, he had tears in his eyes and he fell down at the feet of Muhammad. And he said that, I misunderstood you. I came to extract something from you. But in fact, what you have given me is greater than what I could have imagined to have ever achieved. So then it is described that him and all of his tribal people, they became followers of Muhammad just by show of his humility and by show of his hospitality. So Prophet Muhammad obviously did not hold any grudge, but normal people in this world especially, they are able to only host a guest for a limited period of time because people generally hold grudges if you overstay or if you stay for a longer period of time anyways. So that is why Yudhishthir Maharaj is wondering from Arjuna that did you overstay while you were there in Dwarka? So we'll just read the next verse as well. So I'll read the translation. So then Yudhishthir Maharaj continues. He says, has someone addressed you with unfriendly words or threatened you? Could you not give charity to one who asked, or could you not keep your promise to someone? Purport. A Kshatriya or a rich man is sometimes visited by persons who are in need of money. When they are asked for donation, it is the duty of the possessor of wealth to give in charity in consideration of the person, place and time. If a Kshatriya or a rich man fails to comply with this obligation, he must be very sorry for this discrepancy. Similarly, one should not fail to keep his promise to give in charity. These discrepancies are sometimes causes of despondency, and thus failing, a person becomes subjected to criticism, which might also be the cause of Arjuna's plight. So if someone is asking charity from a Kshatriya and a Kshatriya does not give it, then also it becomes a cause for losing his tejas. He can lose his bodily luster because of that. And the best example I could think of in this regard is King Harishchandra. I'm sure all of you know the story of King Harishchandra. But to summarize the whole story of King Harishchandra, he was asked for something which he did not possess, in fact, at that time. So the story goes that once upon a time, Vishwamitra visited Vasishtha and he asked him, who is the best follower of Dharma? So then Vasishtha said that my disciple Harishchandra is the best follower of Dharma. So Vasishtha said that he is only the best follower of Dharma because he has a lot of opulence. He says, let's see what he does if he does not have opulence. So Vasishtha said, yeah, sure, you can go and test him. That's fine. So then it so happened that once upon a time Harishchandra was hunting around in the forest and he heard some women cry. So he went and asked these women, what's happening? And they said, we need protection. So then at that point, Harishchandra promised that, okay, I'll give you protection. So they asked, whom do you need protection from? So they said, we need protection from the sage Vishwamitra. So then immediately Harishchandra, his face becomes pale. Like how on one side he promised that he's going to give protection to the women from Vishwamitra. On the other hand, how is he going to fight against Vishwamitra? So he immediately fell at Vishwamitra's feet and asked for apologies. So Vishwamitra said that actually because of your offense to me, he said you have to give some charity. So, and to get rid of your offense, he said I will have to perform a yajna. So he says that, okay, what do you want? He says, give me your entire kingdom. So that will be the feast for the yajna itself. So then he says, okay, that's fine, I will give you my entire kingdom. So Harishchandra, without a thought, he gave away his kingdom. And then Vishwamitra said, but actually this is not complete because all you have paid for is the price for all of the ingredients. He said, where is my feast? You need to give me my feast also. So he said that, well, everything I possess is already with you. So he said, well, that doesn't matter. You need to go and find some work, earn money and give me that, pay me my fees. So at that point, Harishchandra could have said, stuff you, I'm not going to pay your charity. You're a cheater. Why are you taking away all of my money? But he didn't grudge at all. So he actually just went ahead and he went into, it's explained, he went to Varanasi. So from the kingdom of Koshala, he went to, or Ayodhya you could say, he went to Varanasi. And while he was in Varanasi, he had to find a source of income, but it was very hard. No one would hire him. So then at that point, his wife said that, you should sell me and pay Vishwamitra his fees. So he was like dumbstruck. He said, how can I sell my wife? But he thought that, if I don't fulfill the order of Vasishtha, then that will be a transgression on the part of Dharma. So he said, I have to fulfill that. So very begrudgingly, he sold his wife. And along with his wife, he sold his son also to a Brahmana as slaves. So then after they are sold, then he was able to collect half of Vishwamitra's fees. The remaining half was still there. So then Vishwamitra said that, you still have to fulfill your promise. You need to find half of the money. So then Vishwamitra at that point, Harishchandra at that point, he sold himself to a Chandala or a person who works in the cremation grounds. And essentially the cremation ground person, he made a deal. He said that, half of whatever, whenever people come to burn their relatives or whoever in the cremation ground, he said, whatever donation they give, half of that needs to go to me, 1/3 goes to you, and 1/6 goes to the king. So 1/6 will go to Vishwamitra. So Harishchandra had to agree to this deal, and then he started working in the cremation ground. And then it so happened that a year passed, and he was still not able to pay the full fees. So he was paying the fees for like over a year. And it is explained that at one point, one woman came to him with her dead son, and she said, I need to bury my son. So Harishchandra said that, no, you cannot. You don't have any money, and I can't let you cremate without money. So then as he looked at the son, or as he looked at the boy, he realized that that boy was actually his own boy. So his boy was bitten by a snake and he died. And at that time, his wife was crying. She was saying, what has happened to you? You've become a Chandala as well. And she was obviously working as a servant in the house of a Brahmana, so neither could recognize each other. But Vishwamitra could have said, stuff this dharma, I'm not going to follow dharma. Why are the gods cursing me? He could have cursed all of the demigods in charge. But he didn't curse anyone. In fact, if anything, he asked his wife, he said that, you need to pay me fees, otherwise you cannot cremate your son. So then his wife, she was about to tear her sari and she was about to pay in her sari. Then at that time, all of the demigods, they appeared. And then they said that actually this was a test for you to see whether you would be steady on the path of dharma. So then they said that now we invite you to come to the heavenly planets. We invite you to come to Swarga. So Harishchandra said that, okay, I cannot go to heavenly planets because I am actually still a slave of this Chandala. Until the Chandala lets me go, he says, I cannot go to heaven. So then the Chandala shows his true form, and actually Chandala was none other than Dharmaraj or Yamraj himself. So he said that, you have passed the test, so that's fine. So for a Kshatriya to not fulfill his promise or not give in charity when asked is certainly a cause of losing their tejas. And that is the glory of being a Kshatriya. So whenever we think of Kshatriyas, we think that Kshatriyas are always like, they have so much opulence, they are enjoying so nicely in a kingdom, they have ministers, they have so many servants, etc. But a Kshatriya was expected to follow dharma, especially in these times of crises. And that was best exemplified by Harishchandra. And of course, if they don't follow their dharma properly, then they lose their bodily luster as well. So then I will complete the last verse as well, which is verse number 41. So Yudhishthira Maharaj continues. He says, you are always the protector of the deserving living beings, such as brahmanas, cows, children, and the diseased. Could you not give them protection when they approached you for shelter? The purport. The brahmanas who are always engaged in researching knowledge for society's welfare, both materially and spiritually, deserve the protection of the king in all respects. Similarly, the children of the state, the cow, the diseased person, the woman, and the old man specifically require protection of the state and Kshatriya king. If such living beings do not get protection by the Kshatriya or the royal order of the state, it is certainly shameful for the Kshatriya or the state. If such things had actually happened to Arjuna, Maharaj Yudhishthir was anxious to know about these discrepancies. So if someone approaches a Kshatriya and asks for protection, then the Kshatriya is meant to give protection even at the cost of his own life. So we see that the best example of this again in the Shastras, they're all coming from Surya Vamsha. I can't help it, but yeah. So another example is King Shibi. I'm sure all of you have heard the story of King Shibi, but King Shibi was once approached he was performing yajna in his palace, and he was approached by a dove who was being chased by an eagle. And this dove sought protection. He said, please protect me. So Shibi promised protection. So then at the same time that eagle came in and he said that, this dove is my food. You need to release this dove. What am I going to eat? Otherwise I'm going to die. So you need to give me protection as well. So then Shibi Maharaj was left in a predicament. How could he give protection to the dove and the eagle at the same time? So then an idea came. So his ministers suggested that one of the ideas is that you cut pound of your flesh and you give it to the eagle to eat, weighing the same as the dove. So they placed the dove on one side, and Shibi Maharaj, he cut portion from his thigh and he gave it to he put it on the scale. And it so happened that the dove was mystical. So how much of flesh he kept putting, the dove would still be heavier. So it so happened that afterwards the deities, they revealed themselves, that the dove and the eagle were none other than Indra and Vayudev. And they were testing how loyal or how a Kshatriya would always give Sharanagati to those who sought shelter. Nowadays we see that, the state or the government, they don't give any protection to any of the animals in the state. Yeah, if anything, I think recently I was reading a news article, it was there in the news, they were explaining that the elephants in, I think Florida in America, there was a zoo, and they kept lots of elephants in one small enclosure in the zoo. So there were some animal rights activists that were trying to fight for releasing these elephants. They were saying that these elephants are too crowded, they need to be released. So then at that time, the court ruled that animals are actually not human beings. They don't have the same rights as human beings. Even though they may be intelligent, we cannot say that, they deserve a right to live in a free and a large space. So the court actually ruled against them. They said that, no, the animals don't deserve any freedom just like the humans. But we understand from the Vedic tradition that that's actually not the case, that the Raja would give protection to his whole praja. That praja can be human beings, brahmanas, or it can even be the most insignificant animal. Nowadays, obviously, things are quite changed. And a Kshatriya was meant to give protection to all of them. And the reason why this is the case is that Kshatriya is in Aishwarya Bhava. They are actually representing Krishna himself. So Krishna, for example, does not abandon any of his living entities. Krishna, you can be like a very fallen Shudra or like a Mlecha or a Yavana, or you could be the most exalted Brahmana. Krishna gives protection to everyone. So similarly, the king, who is also a representative of Krishna, is meant to give protection to everyone. And not just human beings, but also to animals. And if a Kshatriya does not give protection to all of the animals, then that also is another cause for a Kshatriya losing his tejas as well. So having said that, I'll finish there. We've covered 3 verses today. So if anyone has any questions, any comments, any thoughts, anything you'd like to share, or anything you'd like to discuss, we can do so now.
So Kshatriya was, you said they are in a bit of mode of passion. What about Vaishyas and Shudras? Are they ignorance or?
Yeah, that's a good point. So Brahmanas, it is explained, they are mostly in the mode of goodness. Kshatriyas in a mixed mode of goodness and passion. Vaishyas are in all 3, it's explained. So goodness, passion and ignorance. And the Shudras are mostly in passion and ignorance. So that is explained in Bhagavad Gita actually.
So how come Vaishyas have all the 3?
So the reason why Vaishyas have all the 3 is because firstly Vaishyas, they study the Vedas when they are young. So when they study the Vedas, they live a regulated life. So that is their sattva portion. Rajas portion is because they like to accumulate a lot of money as well. Yeah. And tamas is because they have to interact with a lot of Shudras. And they are more interested. Then they are not, first of all, the other reason why they are also considered to be in the mode of ignorance is because they are not allowed to take even Vanprastha. So Vaishyas do not take Vanprastha, whereas the Kshatriyas take Vanprastha. So because they are so much attached to their business and their whatever business life or whatever, etc., the Vaishyas are not allowed to take Vanprastha. It's not recommended for them. So because of their excessive attachments, they are also in the mode of ignorance. Whereas the Shudras are mostly in passion and ignorance because all they care about is enjoying life and enjoying the senses. So that is why they are like that.
That's not said that Vaishyas are in mode of ignorance because they have to interact with Shudras. So does it mean that a devotee, if they have to interact with non-devotees, they actually go down the ladder of passion, ignorance, and such?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, Krishna explains, sorry, not chapter 4, in chapter 3, Krishna explains that this transcendental knowledge should not be taught to those who are already engrossed in material attachments. So Krishna explains that in Bhagavad Gita.
That is one of the offenses also.
Yeah, so a faithless person should not be instructed about the glories of the holy name. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains it very nicely. Srila Prabhupada says that those who are neophytes should not interact with those who are Shudras. So one who firstly does not understand scriptures, one who does not have complete faith in Krishna and the Guru, such a person, if he interacts with people of the material world, he'll become swayed. So that is why Bhakti Siddhanta and Srila Prabhupada, they recommended that all devotees, it is actually a necessity for all devotees to come to the Madhyama platform. So Madhyama Adhikari. So Madhyama Adhikari means one who has faith in Shastra, who understands Siddhanta, and who is able to discriminate. So Prema, what are those 4 qualifications? I think Prema, Maitri, Upeksha, and there's one more. So Madhyama Adhikari is meant to do 4 things, it is explained. Love Krishna, be faithful and serve the devotees, preach to the ignorant, and avoid the miscreants. So until a person develops discrimination, such a person cannot preach to everyone. So Srila Prabhupada says that this instruction that Krishna is giving, that a devotee should not interact with those who are in the lower modes of nature, that is actually an instruction for those who are neophyte devotees. Yeah. But for Madhyama and Uttama devotees, they can interact with them and they can also deliver them. So it is required that devotees come to that level. Because the idea is that if you interact with those who are in the lower modes, then their modes can have an influence on you as well. Yeah. They are not yet. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yes, that's right. So that's why they need to come to that higher level as well.
Thank you.
Nice question. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Any other questions, comments? Yes, bro.
In the last paragraph, Prabhupada Thakur is saying that Brahmanas are meant to be protected. We see that in today's society, scientists are protected. So much research are funded. And we can see that the contrast that is being the Kshatriya, or in the sense that in the government, they are actually encouraging more of the material means to be flourishing. And actually, the Brahmanas who can also nourish the people spiritually. And also on the other side, there has been some, even in Indian people, there have been some arguments that, now the Kumbh Mela is going on. And government has actually spent a lot of money to organize this, so that people can come and take it. And there is accommodations, but there are so much money is being spent. Even the Indians, they are saying that that wasn't required.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So we can see that how we are actually moving away from this culture. And even having come from the land of Bharatvarsha, people are actually doubting why there has to be Kumbh Mela and things like this.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, while you were describing that, it just reminded me that society is becoming like an Asuric society. Because in Asuric society also the Brahmanas are respected. Like we see in the case of Bali Maharaj, Shukracharya was very much respected. But when Vamana Dev comes, who is considered to be a true Brahmana or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, at that time they don't want to offer him any respects. They're saying, stop offering him respects, but offer Shukracharya respects. Why? Because he was a guru who was very much worried about the prosperity and welfare of the Asuras. He was not worried about the spiritual advancement of the Asuras. He was more interested that everyone lives happily, everyone lives peacefully. He was more interested in that. So modern day society is also like that, as you explained. Like people are more interested in protecting those scientists who give them or who solve their sense gratification. Like recently there was that movie Oppenheimer. Now I didn't watch the movie, but I know that Oppenheimer was a scientist who developed the atom bomb. And he was given all kinds of protection because he was going to develop this atom bomb which could mean that America has a victory over everyone else in the world war. So yeah, Brahmanas or so-called Brahmanas or those so-called scientists are given protection in today's society. But we see that those who are actually on the spiritual path, they're not given any respect or any protection. Like Srila Prabhupada or any of the saints. And in Bharatvarsha also, like the whole society is becoming very demoniac now as well. We're losing that culture. We want to respect our so-called material scientists, but we don't want to protect those who are, first of all, preserving our culture and those who are going to help us on the spiritual path. So yeah, that's a very nice thought.
It's going to become more worse and worse since we are in the golden age of Kali Yuga. It's that the Brahmanicals are getting the importance. Then slowly it will shift to Kshatriyas and then I think Vaishyas. And towards the end, Shudras will be actually more important. I think that I read it somewhere. And
Yeah.
that's how it's going to digress as we go towards the end of.
Yeah, I think there is one statement in Shastra which says that Kalau Shudrau Sambhava, which means that in Kali Yuga, majority of the people will be Shudras anyways. So people may have some Kshatriya tendencies or some Brahminical tendencies, but actually majority of the people today are Shudras anyways. Because in Shastra it is explained that Janma Jayate Shudra, Samskarat Bhaved Dvija, Veda Pathyet iti Vipra, Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. So by birth everyone is a Shudra unless one samskaras are done. So if one has not performed all of the 16 samskaras, then that person who is born is actually going to be a Shudra anyways. And now we see in Kali Yuga especially no samskaras are being performed anyways. So in that case all people who are born are technically going to be Shudras. So yeah, as time progresses, Shudras are going to predominate as they are as well. And Yeah, it's just the nature of Kali Yuga.
Punishment in Viva rather than for samskaras.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, mostly for show off, anyways. But yeah, that's fine. Yeah, interesting.
Your son was listening to your class today.
Yeah, thank you. Good on him. That's good. Okay, we'll finish there then. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.